Good morning, Alex and friends. I'm Grace. Today is Friday, April 25th, 2025, and you're listening to Alex's News. Let's start with the weather in Riverside. Expect a high today reaching 62.4 degrees Fahrenheit, with a low dipping to 54.2 degrees. It is a relatively cool day, maybe perfect weather for getting outside and appreciating nature. Speaking of nature, happy Arbor Day, everyone. Coming up on today's show, we will explore what might have prompted former President Trump's rare public criticism of Vladimir Putin. We will also delve into the significant implications of a recent federal policy shift for California's unique Medicaid experiment, examining what this change means for the state's healthcare initiatives. All this and more coming up on Alex's News. Stay tuned. We begin this morning with a significant development in the ongoing conflict in Ukraine and the complex diplomatic efforts surrounding it. Former President Donald Trump has issued a rare public message to Russian President Vladimir Putin following a deadly attack on Kyiv. Joining us now with the details is our political reporter, Ethan. Ethan, this sounds like quite a turn of events.
It certainly is, Grace. Overnight, between April 24th and today, April 25th, Russia launched a massive assault across Ukraine. According to reporting from the New York Times, nearly 70 missiles and 150 attack drones targeted multiple cities. Kyiv, the capital, was hit particularly hard.
How bad was the damage in Kyiv?
It was devastating. The New York Times, the Associated Press via the Star Tribune, and the Coast Reporter are all confirming at least 12 people were killed and 90 injured just in Kyiv. This makes it the deadliest attack on the capital since last summer. And the New York Times adds that Ukrainian President Zelensky reported Russia simultaneously attacked 150 positions along the front lines, with the situation especially critical near Pokrovsk.
And amidst this tragedy, former President Trump weighed in. What exactly did he say?
He took to his Truth Social platform, as noted by the Coast Reporter and Perplexity analysis, with a direct message for President Putin. He wrote, quote, "Stop," end quote, urging an end to the attacks. Interestingly, he framed part of his appeal around the cost to Russia itself, stating, quote, 5,000 soldiers a week are dying, end quote, and stressed the need to finalize a peace deal. It's quite unusual, Grace. As Perplexity and the Coast Reporter point out, Trump has often steered clear of directly condemning Putin.
So, a rare rebuke. But you mentioned peace deals. How does this message connect to the Trump administration's ongoing efforts to broker peace? It seems like rather explosive timing for diplomacy.
Explosive indeed. Trump expressed clear frustration, calling the timing of this Russian assault, quote, very bad timing, end quote, not necessary, end quote. This is according to the New York Times, the Coast Reporter, and Perplexity analysis. His administration has been pushing for a peace agreement, though reports from the Star Tribune and Perplexity suggest those talks haven't made much headway. Adding to the drama, the New York Times reported this attack came just hours after the Trump administration had apparently threatened to pull out of those very peace talks.
Wow, so pressure on Putin to stop, but frustration about the timing impacting his Don's deal. Did he have anything to say about Ukraine's side in all this?
He did, and this is where it gets even more complex. The Star Tribune, Coast Reporter, and Perplexity analysis report that Trump also criticized Ukrainian President Zelensky. He suggested Zelensky is dragging out the war because he won't consider ceding the Crimean Peninsula, which Russia illegally annexed back in 2014, as part of a peace settlement. Trump argued Crimea was taken, quote, without a fight, end quote, under the Obama administration, and that Putin halting his, quote, land grab, end quote, now would be a, quote, pretty big concession, end quote.
A concession? I imagine Ukraine and its allies see that differently.
Exactly. The Coast Reporter notes that Ukraine and European allies strongly contest that view, arguing that pausing an illegal seizure isn't a concession at all. President Zelensky has consistently called recognizing occupied territory as Russian a non-negotiable, quote, red line, end quote. So Trump is pushing Putin to stop the attack while simultaneously blaming Zelensky for not yielding territory Russia illegally occupies.
That definitely sends mixed signals. How are international observers interpreting this dual approach?
Diplomatic analyses cited by Perplexity highlight those potential contradictions. Pressuring Putin while blaming Zelensky raises questions about the sincerity of the call for a ceasefire. Some analysis suggests Trump's main frustration might be that the attack undermines the specific peace terms, communications times likely involving Ukrainian concessions, rather than a fundamental objection to the Russian aggression itself. His focus on, quote, bad timing, end quote, and the parallel blame on Zelensky seem to support that reading, according to Perplexity. Other leaders are also speaking out. The Star Tribune and Coast reporter mentioned French President Macron telling Putin to, quote, stop lying, end quote, about wanting peace, while Norwegian Prime Minister Støre stressed the need for continued U.S. engagement after meeting Trump.
So where do things stand diplomatically right now on April 25th?
Well, Trump's special envoy, Steve Witkoff, actually landed in Moscow today for scheduled talks with President Putin, according to Perplexity and reports cited by the Star Tribune and Coast reporter. However, as of this morning, Perplexity notes there's no official word on how that meeting went, if it's even concluded. Separately, the Coast reporter and Star Tribune mentioned U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth met with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, discussing issues like getting allies to meet that 2% of GDP defense spending target.
A lot of moving parts, and a very tense situation. Ethan, thank you for breaking down this complex story for us. It seems the diplomatic dance continues, even under fire.
Absolutely, Grace. Always a complex situation.
All right, for our second story this morning, we're shifting focus to healthcare right here in California, specifically a major state program facing some potential turbulence from Washington. Joining us now is our news reporter, Chloe. Chloe, thanks for being here.
Happy to be here, Grace.
So we're talking about Cal AIM. It sounds ambitious. Can you break down what exactly this program is and what it aims to do?
Absolutely. Cal AIM stands for California Advancing and Innovating Medi-Cal. Think of it as a significant transformation of Medi-Cal, which is California's version of Medicaid A, the government health insurance program for low-income individuals and families. Under the previous administration, as reported by Jefferson Public Radio citing CalMatters, California got federal approval to use Medicaid funds in really innovative ways.
Innovative how? What kind of things are we talking about?
Instead of just paying for doctor visits and prescriptions, Cal AIM allows the state to fund services that address what experts call, quote, social determinants of health, end quote, basically, the non-medical factors that significantly impact well-being. We're talking about things like housing support for homeless patients, medically tailored meals delivered to homes, intensive care management, and other community-based supports. The goal, according to IJPR/CalMatters, an analysis from Perplexity API, is to improve people's health long-term and hopefully reduce costly emergency room visits.
That sounds like a really holistic approach to healthcare. So why is its future now looking uncertain?
Well, the political winds have shifted in Washington. Reports from CalMatters and IJPR indicate the current Trump administration, including the relatively new head of the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, or CMS, Dr. Mehmet Oz, is signaling a different direction. They seem to favor focusing Medicaid dollars strictly on what they define as, quote, core medical services, end quote.
Dr. Oz, a familiar name now heading CMS. What specific signals are causing concern for Cal AIM?
According to reporting from IJPR/CalMatters, CMS has apparently rescinded some prior federal guidelines that encourage states to spend Medicaid funds on social services. More critically, there are indications that the specific federal permission slip, known as a waiver, that allows CalAIM's unique funding won't be renewed when it expires at the end of next year, December 31st, 2026. Theta about 1 year and 8 months from today.
A waiver, can you quickly explain what that means in this context?
Sure. A Section 1115 waiver, which is what Cal AIM operates under, is essentially special permission from the federal government. It lets states experiment with their Medicaid programs and use funds in ways not typically allowed under standard rules, like funding those housing or food services we discussed. It requires federal approval and has an expiration date.
Got it. So the signals are worrying, but has anything concrete actually changed for Cal AIM as of today, April 25th, 2025?
That's the crucial point right now, Grace. Based on multiple confirmations via the Perplexity API, despite the concerning signals, no TARMS official policy changes, new regulations, or formal directives have actually been issued by Dr. Oz's CMS that specifically alter how Cal AIM operates today or explicitly deny future funding approval. The program is still federally approved and running under its current waiver through the end of 2026. California's Department of Healthcare Services maintains everything is operational.
So the diagnosis for Cal AIM is stable for now, but the long-term prognosis is uncertain? What's potentially at stake if federal support is pulled after 2026?
The stakes are incredibly high. Experts cited by IJPR/Cal Matters worry it would be a major step backward, potentially reversing progress made in improving health for very vulnerable Californians. Cal Matters reports that billions in federal funding could be jeopardized, which would also impact the state's plans for improving mental health and addiction treatment, as those are tied into the Cal AIM framework. And looking at the bigger picture, advocacy groups told Healthcare Dive that broader Medicaid cuts, like those floated in some House budget proposals, would be, quote, catastrophic, end quote. There's also context here. Cal Matters noted the administration has previously clawed back other federal health grants affecting California, and Healthcare Dive reported the rejection of Medicare coverage for obesity drugs, suggesting a pattern towards narrower healthcare spending.
It sounds like a complex situation with significant potential impacts down the road, even if nothing's official yet. WLL definitely need to keep taking the temperature on this issue. Chloe, thank you for breaking down this intricate story for us.
You're welcome, Grace. And just to recap the sources we drew from, that includes reporting from Jefferson Public Radio, Cal Matters, Healthcare Dive, and analysis via the Perplexity API.
Excellent. Thanks again, Chloe. Here are some other headlines. Florida politics saw a significant shakeup as Senate Democratic leader Jason Pizzo declared the state party, quote, dead, and announced he is leaving to register as having, quote, no party affiliation. Pizzo resigned his leadership post, citing a need for independence to better represent NPA voters who supported his election. His move fuels speculation about a potential 2026 gubernatorial run as an independent, potentially appealing to a broader base beyond party lines. The party's reaction is mixed, with Senator Lori Berman selected to succeed Pizzo as the leader of the Senate Democrats. Overseas, Houthi rebels in Yemen have reportedly shot down 7 U.S. Reaper drones over the past 6 weeks, including 3 in just the last week, indicating improved targeting capabilities. With each drone valued at approximately $30 million, the total financial loss exceeds $200 million. Despite this, the U.S. continues an intensified campaign ordered by President Trump, striking over 800 Houthi targets since mid-March, including command centers and weapons storage. 2 U.S. aircraft carrier groups, the USS Harry S. Truman and USS Carl Vinson, have been deployed to the region. However, concerns persist about civilian casualties and the challenge of eliminating the Houthi threat due to their fortified underground positions. Meanwhile, tensions remain high between India and Pakistan after troops exchanged fire across the line of control in disputed Kashmir yesterday. This follows a deadly attack near Pahalgam on April 23 that killed 26 people, mostly Indian tourists. India blamed Pakistan for the attack and responded by downgrading diplomatic ties, suspending a crucial water-sharing treaty, and revoking all visas for Pakistani nationals. Pakistan called India's actions irresponsible, retaliating by canceling visas for Indians, suspending all trade, and closing its airspace to Indian aircraft. The United Nations has appealed for maximum restraint from both nuclear-armed nations, as Indian Prime Minister Modi vows to hunt down those responsible for the attack to the ends of the earth. Back in Washington, security concerns are being raised at the Pentagon following reports that Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth had an unsecured commercial internet line installed in his office. Sources claim this dirty line, bypasses secure government networks like NIPR and SIPR, and was requested specifically so Hegseth could use the encrypted messaging app, Signal, on a personal computer. Experts warn such a public connection lacks firewalls and filters, exposing communications to potential hacking or surveillance, and may not comply with federal record-keeping laws. A Pentagon spokesperson denied Hegseth uses Signal on government devices, calling his communication systems classified. This development follows a previous Inspector General investigation into Hegseth's use of Signal for sharing military strike details. And finally, in the 2025 NFL Draft last night, University of Miami quarterback Cam Ward was selected first overall by the Tennessee Titans, addressing their need for stronger passing offense. The Jacksonville Jaguars executed a major trade with the Cleveland Browns to move up and select versatile Colorado star Travis Hunter with the second pick. Hunter excelled at both cornerback and wide receiver last season. In a notable surprise, however, Colorado quarterback Shedeur Sanders was not selected in the first round. Quarterback Jackson Dart did go later in the round to the New York Giants, after they traded back into the first round to select him. That's all we have for now. Today's episode was made by Alexander King, with Claude Sonnet 3.7, Gemini Pro 2.5 Experimental, Gemini Flash 2.0, Perplexity Sonar Pro, and Google Cloud Text-to-Speech. I hope you have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow, Alex.